What's up, guys? Hope you guys are doing well and have been enjoying the new Operation Underground. I want to do a full review of this new map today and break down all the things about this map that have been really standing out to me and all the strats I've been using, and also talk a little bit about the things I have not been enjoying about this map. But I do want to say at the very start, I have been enjoying this map a lot. It's been really fun. And despite all the problems that have been going on with Battlefield 5, this is actually a really fun map, and I honestly could keep playing this map over and over again. I think the main reason I've been enjoying this map is because, in my opinion, this is the purest form of gunplay we're going to see in Battlefield 5. I mean, we don't have any tanks, airplanes, there's no call-ins like V1 rockets or artillery strikes. Scouts can't really use their flares all too much. I mean, they can use them outside, but they can't really use them at the very heart of the map. And even though there are gadgets and stationary guns and of course the bipod meta, those haven't been really bothering me all too much. Maybe because I'm getting really used to the map, but to be honest, this is quickly becoming a favorite of mine in Battlefield 5. And I think if there's a conversation in the community on how maps should be developed, it's between groups like the one group that enjoys the infantry focused close quarter combat gameplay, and those who prefer more of the larger all-out war style maps with all the vehicles and everything on them, instead of all this 5 vs 5 stuff that I know we're all past by now. But I hope DICE does look at the developer who did develop this map, and we were told it was a passion project, and I think it was done really well. So I did want to start off the video saying a little bit about that. But let's jump into the map. I'm going to bounce back and forth between Conquest and Breakthrough while progressing through each of the 3 sections of the new map and point out some stuff I've been learning. So when it starts with the Allies and we're tacking towards A, I've been trying to push far right where there's a little alleyway that takes me straight to a red door where I can get upstairs. This pathway, I've noticed, isn't very heavily focused with enemy players, for the most part at least, and you might be able to get away almost 100% of the time uninterrupted if you throw down smoke as a scout or a medic player. If I get to the spot, I have multiple choices of clearing out the top floor. If it's too much to handle, I can always jump out of the building and go straight across where there's another red door that I can take up the stairs to the second floor and find myself on the opposite end of the top floor I was just trying to flank. So you can bounce back and forth flanking enemies from either parts of these positions, and I really haven't had much luck pushing from the far left side with the attacking team, mainly because of those multi-story buildings and players shooting from above has been a bit of a grind. So I've noticed that if you're able to take advantage of the top floor on that far right flank, you do have some sights of those players on that multi-story building that you can pick off from. So if you're able to conquer this spot, you can put some shots on some enemy players and hopefully help your teammates push up. If you are able to push the left side, you can build this very interesting bridge that leads you to the very top of the building that's been kind of blown up, and you don't have to actually take the stairs, which is the only other way to make it to the very top of the section. So it's pretty nice spot in my opinion to defend, especially on Conquest, where the entrance to the subway is in play for the enemy if your team is being pushed back from the subway. So I've posted up here in desperate times until the crater's clear of enemy players and you can begin to push towards the subway again. It also is a good spot too on Breakthrough if you can get to it, but it's a little bit out in the open with the whole enemy team literally spawning just inside the tunnel. So you have a lot of gunfire at this spot if you're posting up here. There's also some pretty nice machine guns that you can build at the very start. There are 2 that I will point out. The first is in the middle pathway on the main street. The train cars disrupt the view a little bit, which would make this gun very devastating to have at this position. But despite the disruption of the train cars, it can still do some pretty nice damage at this spot. The other one is right off to the right side of the spot where I'm shooting with a machine gun, and it's right next to the alleyway that I was pushing here very far right. It's right between these 2 spots. You can possibly build another machine gun here if you want to try to muscle your way through this alley passageway towards A flag. If you do get on the machine gun, it will be right on the capture zone, just barely, and you're able to lay down fire on that second story room that I was trying to flank at the very beginning of the round. So if you want to try to muscle your way through, you can always try jumping on this machine gun here to help your teammates out. When it comes to defending this sector, you can of course go into the large multi-story building that everyone wants to go in. You can also use that one spot that I was just showing you earlier where you build that little bridge. But there's been one spot that I've noticed where it's a little bit of a smaller building with another red door. It's on the main road up towards the left if you're on the defending team. And I've had quite a bit of luck defending this location, mainly because it allows me to look out on the main road and also go down the stairs and shoot out the back door to this building and see players pushing from the opposite side. Yes, of course, I can't see players pushing far left, but I've noticed a lot of players like to hang out right by these alleyways that lead you in and out towards the main road of the first section. This building I do like posting up in because it literally is right next to one of these alleyways, and then you can see the other alleyway across the road. And I just been noticing that when the attacking team is beginning to overrun the sector, you see a lot of enemy players begin to gather up around these passageways. So you could post up somewhere else, but there's not a lot of versatility like it is in this little building that has this red door here. Of course, you know, there's a lot of buildings that have red doors, but this specific one right here is again right next to this alleyway, and it's been really nice to be able to jump out and shoot players who are, you know, pushing in the building underneath me. I'll be laying dynamite on the ground right by the door if players are pushing from the roadway. I can also go out, push through the back door, and attack players through that means. And if I need to, if I can shoot across the road as well. So there's a lot of opportunity that I have in this building that has been really action-packed because you are so close to the enemies front lines where they're pushing up, which is normally where I like to be. I don't like to give the enemies 1 inch, so I like being as close as I can to the front lines as possible and try to push them back. I also have noticed that you really want to take advantage of using your supply drop, since that's the only thing you have, right? Supply drop and your smoke barrage. And really in the whole game, everyone is just maxing out their points, having so much that, man, you really wish you had a V1 rocket. But since you don't, I would suggest at the very first part to be laying as much as your supply drop as you can. I've been laying it right there at the front door, so I'm able to resupply all my gadgets and stuff, and it's just been a nightmare for the enemy players when I've been using this strat. So that's something you do want to consider when you are trying to defend this sector. Speaking of these supply drops, if you're on Conquest and you're pushed back to A for the allies and your team is trying to fight back into the tunnels, you can very much drop your supply drop down right next to the tunnel entrance that is being held off by the enemy team, and you can reload very helpful things like grenades that you can keep chucking in these tunnels to get yourself out from being pinned down. If my teammates get stuck, I like taking the far left tunnel, mainly because it's much tighter. So if you keep throwing grenades in there over and over again, there's really nothing the enemy team can do, since they have to run to their supply station, and all you have to do is just run right to the supply drop that you have literally right next to the entranceway. So I like using the incendiary grenades, and it just really makes it a nightmare for them. But this is an interesting spot because in Breakthrough, defenders can't push up this far once you take the first sector. So Conquest makes this a unique battling area for the map, and it can get pretty brutal if the teams aren't balanced and you're pushed back. So what I've been discovering is the supply drop is key for you and your teammates to keep resupplying your grenades and gadgets to bombard that tunnel on the far left, and hopefully eventually you can overrun them just by sheer power of having more ammunition in the tank to just basically overrun them from there. When you're attacking on Conquest or Operations, you have the machine guns that you can build that is on the main railroad track that's facing the overpass. These can do some pretty serious damage if you're trying to will your way straight up the middle. If you haven't seen my video about mastering the underwater flanks, you can check that out. You'll see how you can flank on the far right tunnel, and it will take you to the first door on your right. And of course, if you can make it there, which I would suggest maybe using the medic or scout class, because then you can throw down some more smoke for you. But if you take that flank underwater, you are able to push up, and I have started to notice a really nice spot that's right in front of a railroad car that's on the main track. If you decide to flank around, you'll see your teammates struggling to push up from the machine gun spot I was just talking about, and it's because all the enemies are just around the corner holding them off. So if you make this flank without dying, you can try posting up just under the railroad car behind enemy lines, and you should be able to lay down fire against enemy players who should be preoccupied by trying to resist your teammates from pushing up forwards. I just discovered this spot today, so I'm planning on trying it out a little bit more and seeing how well I can make use of it, because I think there's a lot of promise to this little flank right here, if of course you don't choose to try to jump the railroad car and flank the overpass that is in my other video that I may mention about. If you're still trying to push up in the far left tunnel where I was throwing all those incendiary grenades, and your teammates are able to push through, I suggest checking out the first door that's on your right. This door will open into the main subway station, and you should see a bunch of enemies just around the corner trying to hold your teammates off from pushing up on those main railroad tracks. So they most likely won't have a clue that you're horizontal to them, and you can easily shred them. I've had some pretty nice success just laying down and firing them just from the side, and I think actually the hardest part is shooting through all the smoke. There's just so much smoke that's being thrown on this map, which is cool. I definitely love smoke, but I find myself just shooting non-stop so many times in the smoke, and because it's basically really all I can do. So but yeah, this spot has been pretty successful for me, and it relieves a lot of that tension for your teammates dealing with enemies that are just around the corner. So while your teammates are all focused still trying to push ahead on the left side of the map, you're going to be looking across and picking off enemies who are trying to stop your teammates from pushing up those main tracks, and the players who are trying to maybe flank your team that's pushing on the far left side. They may try to push through these doors, so you'll be able to pick them off who are trying to flank your teammates as well. When it comes to defending the middle part of the map, I of course try to get as close as I can to the front lines. Again, I don't want to give the enemy team an inch. I do like to focus at the very start sometimes on the far left track. This is the one with that door that will lead you for the allies to that underwater tunnel off to their right. I do like getting on top of this cart and laying down shots like this. You do have to be careful because eventually this cart can get destroyed, and you'll get destroyed along too with all the gadgets that are being fired upon you. So and then you're left on the ground trying to get res by your teammates, and then they're all dying and getting exploded across the map. So you gotta watch out for all that. Seeing you there, Marco. There's a spot on the main rail track that has a cart with sandbags that you can build. You can pop your gun in and out above these little sandbags that you have laid down in front of you. This is a good spot if you're trying to hold off the enemy team that is pushing on those main tracks. They do of course have those heavy machine guns, but you can shoot those machine guns from the position where you're at and take out those players. There's of course the overpass that has the stationary machine guns that you can build sandbags around. There's also sandbags that you can build on the staircases behind you. This is only for breakthrough. You can't do that on conquest. So it does help you a little bit for breakthrough, a bit more to build those sandbags, but you do have to be wary of that flank that players can use by jumping on the railroad car and then jumping through the building behind you. So yeah, definitely got to watch out for that. If you're able to push through the middle section on breakthrough for the attacking team, you now got to push outside, which can be a bit of a grind. However, after battling out for a good amount of time in the middle section, no matter how many points you lost in that first section by dropping supply drops, you've probably made up more points and then some. So now's a good time to start calling in as many smoke barrages as you can. I literally have been spanning them non-stop in this section. So I'm still kind of figuring out which tunnel works best for pushing out. I've had more luck on the far left tunnel, but I don't know if that's it for any particular reason. But I usually try to push out, hopefully get out to where this crater is in the ground, and then I like to lay my smoke barrage down and give me some cover that are around these underground exposed piping that allows you to sneak hopefully behind enemy lines and take out those heavy machine guns that will basically shred you if you try running out there in the open. I've also tried pushing straight into the main middle tunnel with the railroad tracks and laying down some smoke through that opening. Give me just enough time to lay down by this busted down vehicle. You'll then be able to pick off the players who are camping just around the ledge above the tunnel, and also pick off the players who are trying to push up towards the exit of that tunnel, but it is kind of hard to watch your back on the very side, and I've been getting picked off a little bit too soon, a little bit too often, so I don't know how I feel about this strat. It also doesn't really work well if your teammates don't push out with you. So now there is one very interesting flank I do want to make mention about, and I do want to try out. Haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but I do want to try pushing outside on the very far right and just go over the rail where it will lead you into the water. I haven't had a chance to try this out on the attacking side, but the defending side, it does work amazingly. It works best if the enemy team was able to push outside and you're stuck in maybe inside the building trying to regain the ground that was lost by the tunnel exits. You can then push towards the far left for you as the defending team, and there's actually a little stairway down here by the water's edge, but if you dive into the water, you can swim all the way to these like basically the ladder, right? That will give you a flank right behind the enemy team. So I've used it a couple times. It's worked out pretty well. It helps you regain ground that's been lost. So it's something you definitely want to take advantage of for the defending side that I've yet to really see anyone use it. So definitely check that out. It's definitely really sneaky to be using. I've been posting up on the side part 2 after we lose basically what is it, the train station, the entrance to it. So I've been trying to catch enemies off guard who are pushing through those carts that are right there at the exit of those tunnels, and hopefully that helps hold them off a little bit till we basically have to go into the building and hold the building down. There's an interesting busted down building on the far left for the attacking team. So if you're taking that far left tunnel, you'll see it right over there by the big crater that's in the road. I've been seeing a lot of snipers sniping out of that building. So if you're on the defending team wondering where you're getting sniped from, most likely check that building. If I'm on the defending team, I am trying to hold down the train station as long as I can, and I'm watching those staircases of players pushing up, and then when I get a chance, I'm kind of popping out and checking out the tunnels that are just behind me. But of course, if we lose a train station, I am trying that jumping in the water strat that, again, I haven't seen anyone use. So yeah, use it up while you can. And if all else fails, you have to hold out the building, which has been pretty cool. There's been some pretty epic battles for me already in that building, so the diversity of the gameplay for this map has been quite impressive just by how the environment mixes up, but still be able to keep the urban feeling that makes the gameplay just really fun. There's still, of course, performance issues for this game. I've been hearing players on PC having problems, and even though I'm not completely disconnecting from games like last week, the performance is still subpar for me. I'm still getting shot around corners. I'm still having moments where I'm like dying like instantly, man. It's like one frame I'm dead. So I mean, it's just how it is right now. I really just hoping that eventually Battlefield 5 can reach to the same performance as BF1, because if it just got to that performance, I mean, I would be having a pretty solid time on this game in my opinion. But another thing I would like to see fixed is some mid-game team balancing. I feel like the lack of team balancing from BF5 disrupts maps like this, where it turns into punishment for some people, because you'll get around where teams are so out of balance that you end up having players who just quit mid-game, and it makes the gameplay just completely miserable as everything begins to spiral out of control because the teams aren't balanced at all. So I would really like to see team balancing mid-game, and I remember when they put that into BF1, I wasn't really quite sure about it, especially when I was getting swapped mid-game, especially when I was winning. But really when it came down to it, I did feel like it did help the team balancing out a little bit, and even though it does swap you out mid-game, it's still better than blowing the team out, even if I'm winning. Like, that's not all too fun to me. If just completely blow the enemy team out and then have another game where I can completely get blown out. I would like to have a battle, So even though, yeah, you might get thrown on a team that's struggling, hey, if it helps balance the game out, I would much prefer that than having games where I'm blowing the team out or if I'm getting destroyed as well. So yeah, I really don't like that, and I would like to see that get improved, because again, I think these issues affect the map, where people then begin to blame the map like it's the map's fault. And I would first like to see these issues get fixed and then see how the maps play out, because I think really those are the main issues than, oh hey, this map just doesn't play well because of blah blah blah. I would rather see those things first. I'm not saying the maps don't have problems, but I would like to see these things get fixed and then see what happens from there. But when it comes to the map, I feel like the more you get used to all the passageways and really know the map, you really begin to have some epic moments. It can be a bit overwhelming at first because there are so many doors and the enemies feel like they're everywhere, but once you get more map knowledge, it really gets to get pretty exciting. But that's what I've been up to lately when it comes to Operation Underground. Feel free to let me know what you guys have been doing. If there's any strategy you've been using that you have found effective, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And let me know if you guys like a little bit of a longer video of me breaking down the map. I went on the full exhaustive side for this map and gave out basically everything I've been experiencing the past couple of days. So let me know you guys have enjoyed this style of video today. But that's it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin. I'll catch you guys again later.